Well, hey there, reader friends. I'm Erica, and welcome to my channel. There are quite a few new subscribers, so welcome, guys. Hope you guys like my stuff. Let me know what you think. Today, I'm going to be doing my first library haul for 2018. If you watched my goals video, you know that I decided not to do TBRs this year and instead do library hauls because I always have a lot of library books checked out, and I'll read some of them, so it's kind of like a TBR, but more flexible, which is better for me. I have 30 library books checked out right now. 30. That's a lot. Hopefully this video is not an hour long. For the books that are really well known, I'm probably not going to summarize them, and for the ones that aren't as well known, I will summarize them. This is kind of an experiment. This is the first time I'm doing this. We'll see how it goes. I kind of have things divided into different genres to kind of organize my thoughts a little bit. Let's just go ahead and get started. I guess, genre I'd like to start with are picture books and books of poetry. A book I have had checked out for a while from the library is Divorce is the Worst by Anastasia Higginbottom. I discussed this in my December wrap-up in detail. It's an amazing information book about divorce, the feelings that you might experience when you're going through a divorce or when there's a divorce in your family, not when you yourself, because this is for kids, so the kids aren't going through divorces. I just highly recommend it. It's a great book on this topic. It's really empathetic, and it really inspires kids to explore their feelings in a safe way. The next picture book I haven't read yet, but I'm very excited to get to it, is Dear Girl by Amy Krauss Rosenthal and Paris Rosenthal. I don't know anything about it. It was reviewed well in School Library Journal, and I am really interested in picture books that empower girls and people that are in, like, disenfranchised positions, and also books that encourage girls to maybe be a little more wild and adventurous, which the cover of this definitely gives that tone. We'll see how it goes. So one thing about library books is that sometimes, particularly with picture books, I read them when they come across my desk new, and then I check them out because I want to look at them more in detail, but also consider what book lists I might want to put them on, what recommendation videos I might want to include them in, so it just allows me more time to really get into the text. And one picture book that I feel that way with is this one. It's called All Around Us. It's by Zelena Gonzalez and illustrated by Adriana M. Garcia, and the illustrations, for one thing, are just astonishing. They are so beautiful. But one thing I found also really interesting is it discusses non-white, like, ideas of time and family and the passage of time, and that discussion is included in the illustrations with all these circles. So yeah, I really liked it when I read it really quickly across my desk, and I want to go more in detail and look at it. So if you're not in the United States, you might not be aware, but Monday, January 15th, was Martin Luther King Day, which is a day to celebrate Martin Luther King and all he did to increase civil rights for African Americans, but also his work as a big promoter of nonviolent protest. And this book came across my desk, and I want to read it. It's called Martin Rising, Requiem for a King by Andrea Davis Pinkney and Brian Pinkney. It is a book of poetry, which I also love books of poetry. It's got amazing illustrations. And one thing I like when I skimmed it, when it came across my desk, is how they've divided their poems into sections based on MLK's life, and it does kind of pretty quickly go into his assassination and then his legacy. I'm really excited to get into this book, see what it says, find out what poems are like, and it's definitely going to be going on display once I finish it. Also, February is coming up very quickly, and in the United States, February is Black History Month, so I've had my eye on new picture books that are giving voice to hidden figures within the African American community, or people that haven't gotten as much attention. So when I saw this book, The First Step by Susan E. Goodman and illustrated by E.B. Lewis, I thought, this looks interesting. I don't know anything about this girl, but apparently, I mean, the subheading is how one girl put segregation on trial, and I thought it was Ruby Bridges, but it's not Ruby Bridges, so I'm really interested in this. I don't know who it is, and, I mean, illustration's also beautiful. Who is it? Let's see. We need to figure out who this is. Sarah Roberts. Her name is Sarah Roberts, and it takes place in Boston, 1847. I don't know anything about this story. Need to learn it. I also have a book of poetry that's not for kids. It's an adult small book of poetry. It's called Black Girl Magic, a poem by Mahogany L. Brown and art by Jess X. Snow. I've already read it. It's amazing. I will give more thoughts in my wrap-up for January. One thing I really appreciate about it is how the text and the illustrations work together. and also it's in a, I don't know if it's African American vernacular English or what dialect, but I love the sense of voice that the narrator, the speaker of this poem has. So yeah, moving on to middle grade books. The first middle grade type book I have is Weekends with Max and His Dad by Linda Urban, illustrated by Katie Kath. And this is what we call in librarianship kind of a first chapter book or an easy chapter book. It's not too long. It has illustrations. The typeface is pretty big. It provides kids an opportunity to get more comfortable reading chapter books. Usually if they're a series, each book is its own story. You don't have to read all the series. You won't miss anything. One thing I really was interested in when I saw this book is that on the back, Katherine Applegate, who wrote The One and Only Ivan, blurbed it and said it was good and compared it to Clementine and Ramona, two female characters that are also in books that are written for this age group. And so I was curious because this is one that looks like it might be geared more toward boys. And also Weekends with Max and Dad to me implied maybe we have a divorce family or a dad that's not living with the son, which I'm always really interested in reading books like that. So yeah, I picked it up. The next book I have is on my town's local Battle of the Books list. It is called Wish Tree by Katherine Applegate. Like I said earlier, she wrote The One and Only Ivan. In this book, it follows a tree, and the tree is a sentient kind of being and experiences the lives of people around it. I don't know much more about it other than that. I'm really intrigued to read a book that's like from the point of view of a tree. I think that's really intriguing. The people that I know that have read it have said it's heartbreaking but profound and wonderful. So I'm there for that. Plus I love the cover. Look at that blue. Yes, yes please. Another middle grade book I have that isn't necessarily the happiest of books perhaps, but profound, is Escape from Aleppo by N.H. Sansei. I am really excited to read this. Aleppo, of course, has been in the news. It tells the story not only of a child living through that experience of war and conflict and violence, but it becomes, I believe, a refugee story as well, which I think we need to give voice to those narratives and those stories right now. I don't know much about this conflict. I should know more than I do, and I think that this will be a good way to introduce myself into the conflict and what's happening. Another middle grade book that came across my desk that I picked up based on the cover alone is this one. It's called Save Me a Seat by Sarah Weeks and Gita Varadarajan, which I had to practice how to say her name. I wanted to make sure I got it right. It follows two students. One is an American student, born and raised, American bred, and the other student is a newly arrived person from India. I just really liked how it had the cover. I love food, so of course this appealed to me. But I like how this cover clearly tells me kind of what to expect in this book, but also enough that I'm really intrigued. And the final middle grade book I have is Martha and the Slave Catchers by Harriet Hyman Alonso. I'm kind of curious about this book because I don't know if Harriet Hyman Alonso is African American. I actually don't think she is. I tried to look her up. Oh, nope, there's a picture. She's definitely not. So I'm kind of interested about this because the topic seems interesting. You know, a child who is helping people escape through the Underground Railroad, but it's a narrative not written by an own voice. So I'm probably going to be reading this with a bit of a critical eye. But the author's also a historian, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll move on now to graphic novels. I have 3 graphic novels. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about them. I have Snoopy, a Peanuts collection, just because I love Snoopy, and I need Snoopy in my life sometimes. I have the new Saga, Volume 8. So excited. So excited. If you don't know about Saga, where have you been? Look it up. They are so good. They're so good. But they're definitely for grown-ups, FYI. I mean, I don't care. If you're a teen and you read it, that's your prerogative. But don't blame me if your parents get mad. And then this one came across my desk and I was so intrigued. It's called The Deep. And it's, I guess, an animated series on Netflix. It's by Tom Taylor and James Browner. And basically this family, they, go to the deep ocean, discover monsters, discover species, which actually isn't fiction because every time we go to the deep ocean, we discover all kinds of new species. I'm just excited because I love the ocean. I love all that stuff. Plus, a family that is so beautiful, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Now we're moving on to YA. First, I have The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, and I have The Empress by S.J. Kincaid. They're so pretty. They follow a character named Nemesis, who in this futuristic space-centered world is a creature called a Diabolic, which is kind of a genetic creation. She's not necessarily human, but she's a humanoid. And she is created with the sole purpose of protecting a person. And then in this book, that person is asked to go to the very scary Emperor's place and so Nemesis goes in there in her person's stead, and shenanigans ensue. And then in this one, it just kind of follows this story. I mean, it's the continuation. This is kind of also, I would say, like sci-fi dystopia. I've read this one. I'm in the middle of this one. I'm enjoying them. They're fun. Next, I have a book I am so excited to read. I am so excited. I have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I just sharpen your blade, harden your heart. I'm there. I'm there. I am so there for this. I'm not even going to summarize it. You can look it up, but this book I've had for a while. It was reviewed well in School Library Journal, and I haven't seen it on BookTube, which I'm kind of surprised. But this book is called Rose Marked, and it's by, hang on, we covered the name of the author. I hate when we do this, but sometimes that's what happens. By Livia Blackburn. This is a fantasy, but also political intrigue type novel following two characters, Ziva and Danaeus. Ziva is a healer, and Danaeus is a soldier, and the kind of other twist to this story is that there is a plague that's going around in this world, and so I think that will add another layer to the political intrigue. I picked it up because I feel like it's going to be similar to An Ember in the Ashes, and Reaper at the Gates isn't here yet, and so I need something to fill my fantasy blurred with political intrigue, blurred with kind of romancy stuff. I need more of that, so I picked it up. The next book I have is Saints and Misfits by S.K. Ali. Again, another diverse pick. I saw it on a book list. I think I've seen it on BookTube. I think I saw Natasha at My Reading Is Odd. She put it on her Goodreads. Again, discussing themes of assimilation and balancing your culture of your family with who you want to be, with what American society tells you you should be. I love exploring these topics. I love reading books like this. The next YA book I have is up for all kinds of awards. I think it won the National Book Award or something like that. It won something recently, and so I added it to the list of things I need to read. It's called Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. It's a contemporary novel, and it follows a family that has adopted kids. I can't think of any other teen book that explores adoption. Not off the top of my head, so I'm intrigued to read it. And the final book I have for YA is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I'm not going to say anything. I think we all know why this is important to read. I'll just read the little blurb on the back. Justice is a good kid, an honor student on his way to Yale. So why is he the one in handcuffs? I have some adult fiction as well. Two of these books I've had for months, so they're not going to be a surprise. I have The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien and North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. If you want summaries of these, they're in other videos I've done, but basically Tolkien, last book of Lord of the Rings, and Victorian novel about class, and there's a romance, and I think in the industrial age and the effect that has on people of different classes. Now, this book was on a Barnes & Noble email I got. I think that's where I heard about it, and I thought, I like winter, I wanted a wintry read, and then I had to wait forever to get it from the library. But I finally have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. It's kind of, I think, a fantasy, like, winter setting in Russia thing. I don't think it's a retelling of any classic folktale, but I don't know for sure. And the premise, basically, is there's a character named Vasila who, her mother dies, and she has a stepmother, and all of that. And misfortunate times are happening, and there's a forest. And that's really all I know about it. Oh, and also, yeah, I just read a sentence. Vasila has gifts of some sort that she has to hide and then she has to use. I'm really excited to read this. I'm explaining it so badly, but I am really excited because I love wintry books, first of all, because winter is my favorite season. I know that makes me, I'm weird. It's my favorite season. I love things that retell folktales or have a folktale-y feel to them. And there might be just a dusting of magic in this, which I also approve of. Now, the last section of books I have are nonfiction, memoirs, all of that together. The first book I have, I'm really excited to read. It came across my Goodreads, and then it was in January's School Library Journal as a adult book for teens, and I thought it looked really interesting. It's called One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter by Sachi Cole, and I am excited because, first of all, Sachi is a writer for BuzzFeed, and we all know what BuzzFeed is and how their articles can be really a great balance of humor and then social commentary, so I'm really excited for that. But also, she's a Canadian author discussing issues of racism and cultural assimilation and being a female of color, so I'm really interested to see how that discussion is tinted by Canadian national identity versus American national identity. The next memoir-ish book I have is Voice Lessons, A Sister's Story by Cara Menzel. Cara is the sister of Idina Menzel, Queen Elsa, Elphaba, Maureen. I want to know about this. Yeah, I want to know about this. Now, this is not sponsored, and I'm not doing this to try and get views or whatever, but I saw an interview on the Chelsea's show on Netflix. Oh, I can't remember her last name. We all know her. She's blonde. Are you there, vodka? It's me, Chelsea. That person, that lady. I saw her interviewing Lily Singh, and I didn't even know Lily Singh was had written a book. This book is called How to Be a Boss. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And basically, I don't know if this is like a blend of self-help and it says a guide to conquering life. So I also really am interested in the girl power aspect of this. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping it's not too surface level, that it goes a little deeper. But I like Lily's stuff. I've watched some of her videos and I've enjoyed them. So yeah. Also, I'm just so jealous of Lily's hair. I'm so jealous. Could never do it, but I'm so jealous. Another biography that I've already talked about on this channel is Vincent and Theo, the Van Gogh Brothers by Deborah Heiligman. I am really interested in this because I love art, for one thing. And I don't know much about Vincent van Gogh other than, Starry Night, and, he cut off his ear, and he wasn't, respected until after he passed away. But I didn't even know he had a brother, and I guess they had a really, really interesting and special relationship. I love Deborah Heiligman. I loved Charles and Emma. I love her writing style. Now this book I got purely for work because I needed some inspiration. So I checked out this book, Reading Picture Books with Children, How to Shake Up Story Time and Get Kids Talking About What They See, by Megan Dowd Lambert. I just needed some professional development stuff. My story times, I love story time, but I've been feeling kind of in a rut. And the final book I have in this library haul is a nonfiction book about pirates and the ocean, which I'm interested in both those things. It's called The Whydah, a pirate ship feared, wrecked, and found by Martin W. Sandler. I guess the Whydah is a ship that was lost and then found. Hence the title. That's a really stupid summary. Guys, that's it. 30 books talked about in less than 30 minutes. I'm pretty proud of myself. We'll see how much I can cut out of this. If you would like to know more about any of these books, like a more in-depth summary or any more information, feel free to comment down below. I just didn't have the time to give in-detail summaries. Also, I didn't know a lot about these. I was just wanting to share them with you, give you an idea about some of the stuff I might be reading this month. Please feel free to subscribe if you like my stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys! There's yowing. Can you hear it? Meow. Meow. She can't get to the bed because there are books everywhere. It's an obstacle course. And she's old.